The Thunder might be saying goodbye to Melo. And in Champions Personified, we look toward a safety that is walking away from the game. Cole Sportz presents On the Daily. Well, I'm so glad that I'm joining you via iPad, iPhone, Android, Smart TV, or computer. Cole Johnson here. On the Daily is on tap. And since you're joining me, why don't we just go ahead and talk about it? Topic of the day, please. There are many things that I was going to discuss, like one of them, Isaiah Thomas no longer having a basketball home in Los Angeles. Topics like that. But this I could not pass up. So the Thunder, after Carmelo Anthony picked up his $28 or close to $28 million option, is deciding to put forth the effort to buy him out. Now, what does this mean for the Thunder? Well, if they were to buy out Carmelo Anthony's contract, that means they would be able to save upwards of $100 million. Yes, $100 million. That is how much they would save. Now, what does that mean for Carmelo Anthony? That means that he will be able to be free to go wherever he would like. And mind you, Melo has the veto option. He can say, no, I really want to stay at Oklahoma City. But what makes me think he will say, okay, I won't veto this trade, is the fact that the Thunder asked him to reduce his role from that of a starter to that of a bench player or a role player. And Carmelo doesn't see himself as a bench or role player. I mean, obviously with his contract, he sees himself as an elite player. So you can see that he won't veto this. He will get a chance to exit because he is not the number one option and he is not the number two option for the Thunder and won't be for any time in the foreseeable or distant future. So, does the Lakers come a-calling? More than likely, I can see that happen. I don't want that to happen, not because I don't want to see the Lakers stockpile talent, but I really think that Melo needs to go elsewhere. If he really is interested in chasing after a ring, yes, Warriors is an option. I don't see that happening. What I could see happen is, since he is an East Coast guy, I could see him going to Boston. Now, if the Knicks were better, I could see him going back there, but I don't see that happening. But I could see him going there, or he might tempt fate and go to Toronto. That is, to me, a dark horse option. But I actually see him touting the white and the green. That's really where I see him going. What does this mean for the NBA as a whole? To me, it means little to nothing. Melo is a top talent, yes. But he is a top talent on the decline. And so the impact of him being on a team is not quite so big as opposed to around 5 years ago. It was much greater and much broader then. Now, like if he were to go to the Rockets, for example, he would take the place of Trevor Ariza. And what did he do? He was a defensive stalwart player, and he had the ability to hit free throws and three-pointers when they would fall. Carmelo, not quite so much on the defensive end stellar, but he is an offensive guy who, he doesn't really need the ball. He just needs to be set in a spot, and he can just go to work, whether in the post or outside. Now, the Rockets would need a player like that. Would they want to have someone long in the tooth like that? We will see in the upcoming days, weeks, and months. But I can see him going to the Celtics before anybody else. And hey, the Lakers may decide to take a flyer out on him. Who knows? But what I do know is that the Thunder, who is luxury tax burdened, would love to get rid of $100 million off their books. And that is the topic of the day. When I come back, a player that I admire and respect immensely. Champions Personified goes to the Pacific Northwest. Be right back. Coming up on tomorrow's On the Daily, we're going to peel back layer by layer why I find it ridiculous that Lakers fan is comparing LeBron James to Kobe Bryant from the standpoint of people saying that LeBron is the greatest Laker ever. The Inspiration Corner will cover that. And of course the topic of the day as well. But that's for tomorrow. For today though, when you hear a player stepping away from the game of any sport, it normally is a somber thing because you take to heart the things that they did on the field, on the court, on the diamond, on the ice. But in the case of one Kam Chancellor, I don't feel that way. I feel the opposite. Welcome to Champions Personified! It was earlier this week that news broke. Kam Chancellor decided to, or is at least contemplating stepping away from the game. And the reason why I was hurt when I heard this was because he reminded me of the play of football, that I was accustomed to seeing out of safeties. Mind you, I grew up seeing Brian Dawkins, of seeing Rod Woodson, of seeing Charles Woodson. I'll go even further back, of seeing John Lynch, of seeing Steve Atwater, of seeing Ronnie Lott, of seeing, and I'll even go further back than that, Jack Tatum. Safeties who had the combination of they could cover you like a corner, but they may not be as fast as a corner. They had the smarts of a quarterback, but they may not be quite as smart as a quarterback, but some are. And they hit you as hard as a linebacker. Well, number 31 for the Seattle Seahawks, Kam Chancellor, was all of those. And I would dare say, along with a Rod Woodson, a Charles Woodson, and probably someone like a Rondé Barber as well. He had the ability when the ball was in his hands, and I'll even add Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu to this list too, was like a running back. He had the skills to evade. He had the skills to turn on the jets when necessary. He had the skills to bowl you over if necessary. Kam Chancellor was all of those things. But you don't really tout him as such. And the reasons why is because he was part of a collective called the Legion of Boom, or LOB, where you had the other safety that sometimes actually gets more publicized than he does in Earl Thomas. And you had a corner who everybody knew because, well, how could you miss the mouth in Richard Sherman? Now, I love him. I love Sherman because he's good for the game. Well, he no longer is in Seattle. Now he is in the Bay Area, revisiting his college days, basically, where he was a standout player at Stanford. So he's seeing his defense, all three lines of it, start to dissipate, disappear from when they were growing up, the 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014 seasons. You know, he's seeing players like Averill and Bennett going, along with Sherman and Irvin. So, I mean, he's seeing players that he bonded with, grew up with, all taking deals with different teams. And he's still there, or not really. Last year, he missed some time due to concussion concerns. And he said that, you know, he's the type of person that listens to his body, and that if his body is talking, you need to step away from the game, he will listen to what his body is saying and will step away from the game. And it sounds like to me that his body is saying you need to step. He was quiet. He wasn't boisterous, but he was solid in how he went about playing. And even though the LOB's mouthpiece was Richard Sherman and the heart was Thomas's, the brains definitely was Kam. There was no question about that. No debating about that. He was, as they say, the brains of the operation. And that's what great safeties are. They're the quarterback of the secondary. And boy, there hasn't been too many that's been as good in the last few years as Kam. So as he rides off into the sunset, I'm thankful that he is able to walk away with a clear mind, with a clear conscience, with the heart not yearning to play again. But he's healthy enough to go by. Kam, I wish you well. I really do hope that you find something that takes the place of the passion that you have for football, because you are a passionate football player. I know you will, because you're an intelligent guy. And I look forward to seeing what you do, where you go, what you accomplish, because you added so much to the game of football. If you happen to like this episode or any episode that you have seen thus far, you know that red button right there. Click it. Subscribe to Cole Sportz on the daily every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You will get one of these shows every day, except for Sunday. And speaking of what you'll get every day, and you will get that also including Sunday, the question of the day. Just go to Instagram at Cole Sportz with a Z. No, not now, when the video is over. Question of the day. And I will tell you, the question of today centers around Carmelo Anthony. So give me what you think. Give me your comments as to what you feel. And if you want to comment on anything else, you can reach me here on this show. You can also reach me on, as I said, Instagram at Cole Sportz with a Z. You can also reach me on Facebook at Cole Sportz with a Z. You can also reach me on Twitter at Cole_Sports with a Z. And you can also reach me on my website, ColeSportsWithAZ.com. That's ColeSportsWithAZ.com. You can check out me and all of my brands everywhere you see Cole Sportz with a Z. And that's all the time I have. Thank you so much for joining me. I represent all of the sportsmen and sportswomen all around the world, particularly you, the particular sportswoman and sportsman in this world. Cole Johnson, this has been yet another installment and edition of Cole Sportz on the visual and on the daily.